Hi, my name is Adan Abbey. I'm originally from the United States. I moved back to Hargeisa, Somaliland, where I'm currently based, and opened up an insurance company called Horn of Africa Insurance. Well, I've always had an interest in going back home to Africa, even though I was born in America. You know, I've heard the stories from my parents' generation and my grandparents, both my parents who worked in Africa and then, unfortunately, because of the civil war that happened in Somalia, had to move out and scattered all over the place, but ended up in America. And then also my grandfather, who was also an inspiration and was actually Under Secretary General of the United Nations, working on a lot of African affairs. So I grew up in a family that always talked about Africa. And so you always have a longing to learn more about where you come from. And ultimately, you know, after spending a lot of years in corporate America, I always felt like I could do more. I could do more for my own career. I could do more for my own people. And they always say that if you feel like you could be doing more in your life, you probably can be doing more in your life. And ultimately, there is never really a right time to make a leap like that. And so I just decided to make the jump and to go straight into Somaliland and to see what the country had to offer. When I first moved to Hargeisa, I was really spending the first few months trying to understand what the needs were in the market. It's a true frontier market, I would say. The needs are endless, but two reasons. One, I started my career in insurance. So I worked in Boston at Liberty Mutual Insurance for some years. So I had experience in that field. And then number two, I saw that almost 99% of the cars were uninsured. 99% of the buildings were uninsured, and you start to hear stories of people who lost it all, right? And that's all over the world, and so Somaliland was no different. I mean, even in the United States, you've heard of stories of people who have experienced complete financial ruin because they did not have insurance. And I started to hear those types of stories from business people. You know, Somalis are very natural traders. And trading is the #1 business, I would say, in the country. And you've heard stories of people who completely lost all of their goods because a boat flipped over or a container flipped over and it sustained severe damage. So we established that there was a need in the market and decided to take on that niche. Definitely a lot of challenges. I think growing up in the United States, you're used to a certain way of doing business and a certain culture. First of all, there's a language assimilation. So my Somali has fortunately improved in the last year that I've been there. But imagine coming there with a very strong American accent and trying to sell people insurance of all things, which people most of the time don't even understand what it is. And then also just the ways of doing business, you know, people being on time for meetings, and you know, it's more of a relationship-based culture. So if you're sitting around waiting for people to answer your emails, most likely you will never get a response. So you really have to just be in everybody's face. And so that's something that I've learned to adapt to. Somaliland is going through a tremendous transformation of growth. We're seeing a lot more foreign direct investment coming into the country. So I see Somaliland growing both in terms of infrastructure, but also hopefully more jobs being created over the next 10 years. Fortunately, Horn of Africa Insurance has been able to participate in that. And I'm proud to say that we've been, you know, employing more youth that have been coming out without jobs. So we've employed over 10 people over the last 6 months and could really employ even more, you know, if we get some more support in terms of legislation and things like that in the country. But I see ourselves being the #1 insurance company in East Africa. That's the goal. So you have to dream big. You know, just seeing really the young people and how innovative they are, how hungry they are for opportunities. There is nothing that separates an African child from a child anywhere else in the world. Really, it comes down to opportunity. And we're fortunate that we are probably living on one of the richest continents, if not the richest continent on Earth. And it's really a question of how do we take advantage of that, right? And I think it's a matter of all of us coming back and bringing our skill sets back to the continent. Everybody has something to give. Everybody has an expertise that they can offer and can benefit themselves, but also the population. I mean, I look at Nairobi, where we're sitting today. 5 years ago when I was here, it was a completely different city. When you land, you feel like you're in Dubai. And that's really a testament to what the Kenyan people and the Kenyan government have been doing and taking control of their growth. And I think all of us, wherever you are on the continent, you have a role to play in the growth of this continent.